Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so we're getting our pullback. We talked about in the weekly update. We actually talked about over here. We had coming into last week, we had two scenarios before the week started. If you started the week up with a move up, all right, we were going to be looking for a move down by end of week to print an upper wick. All right, and then in this week's weekly update over the weekend, we talked about this being our base case over here, coming back, pulling back into structure here, SPY QQ, hitting it with the break and retest. Maybe we pull into the weekly 9 EMA. But, you know, that's really what I'm looking at as our worst case scenario for the time being. But, yeah, you know, I just want to remind everyone, before SPY 700, we were looking for that pullback, you know, 5 to 10 points below 700. We almost got 690 over there on SPY. Now we're starting to pull back. Well, guess what? What comes next after this? We're going up to 700 bucks. That's still the plan ever since we were right over here, okay? Still the plan. Nothing's changed other than you are now back down to where you broke out from. Buyers are in control of the higher time frames. That is definitely the case. We're expecting the dip to be bought until proven otherwise. That's just how this has been. That's how it's been going for a very long time. Something we can watch here on this channel, all right, is just a change of character. Is you see how this cloud, this whole time, this EMA cloud, it's been green, right? It's been green the whole entire time. You have not flipped it red. If that happens to happen, okay, price, it's going to only happen by the time you get down here, all right? But if it happens, that's different. All right, that's something to take note of. It has not happened the entire run. It is probably going to mark a larger pullback. That is just that. It just would be what it be, okay? So we'll be watching for it. As far as levels go, guys, on the upside, you have 679.94, 682.12, 685.94, and 689.70 above there. We're going 700 bucks. On the downside, all right, you're right here where you broke out from. Key spot we discussed over there, weekly update, 673.95, okay? Underneath 673.95, we have 670.23, 667.29, and 663.30, okay? If you do not hold right here, okay, at 673.95, we are going to be looking for buyers stepping down here at 667.29, all right? That is SPY. Coming over here to QQQ. Henry, what are these lines, you ask? What are they? Since your April bottom was put in over here, the 1 hour RSI, real-time hours, not extended hours, real-time hours, has only gotten down to where it got down to today, earlier in the session, 8 times, okay? 4 out of 8 times, you had an immediate bottom, and you went back up to highs. The other 4 of those times, these are the results, which are, you know, you have less than 1% down, and then you started heading back up to highs. You have 0.04%, and then you start heading back up to highs. Happened the next day. You have 2.5%, then you started heading back up to, you know, new highs there, all right? Or, you know, you attempted, okay? Pull back, that low still held, so I'm still gonna, you know, say that holds. And then you have, you know, over here, 1.7% down, and then you headed back up. I am not sure which one that's going to be, but, you know, before this move down happened, I was saying, you know, move down back into where we broke out from. That's really what we're looking at. If it happens, it happens. I wasn't sure if it was going to be the case. But, you know, I was saying that was going to be the easier one to trade here. We know it is likely going to be bought. We know the government is still shut down. We know the price is likely going to be higher than where it was over here on this day right here. Right over here, 669.37. By the time the government opens back up, and still shut down. Okay, so if we do end up getting down there, just look at it. Anything underneath that price, 669 discount. Okay. Either way, you know, as long as that cloud does not flip red, all right, on SPY here, as long as this does not become the case, I say, hey, all right, buyers are still going to be in control over here of the daily time frame. That's your high time frame. And if that's going to be the case, I'm going to just look for, you know, spots over here where you could be buying them on the lower time frames. And this is why I am sharing the stat here. As long as we are still in that higher time frame uptrend, I'm going to share things like this when they present themselves, okay? I got you. Don't worry. I know everybody wants to panic, but your boy was calling for this. You guys maybe have been calling for this as well if you're with me, okay? There's that. But yeah, 8 out of 8 times you were near a bottom or you were at a bottom. That's all I want to say. And it's a local low, okay? It doesn't, actually you did not go lower on any of these. You just did not make a new low after that. You kept going along your trend. So yes, it was just an actual bottom. So if it's going to be like all these other times, then our low is somewhere in between current price and like over here around 605 before you head back up to 637.01. Okay. And there's that. All right. That's all I really want to share here. I know it looks like a sloppy chart. Okay. You're one of these white lines. That is all it is. Okay. Just a little back test in there of how things have been going since April. Okay. For the last 7 months. Okay. On the downside here on QQQ, we are watching 618.42, 613.18, and 607.50. On the upside, you have 626.69, 629.85, and 637.01. That is what you guys got on the indices, okay? DIA, not looking all too shabby. It's right off of the 21 EMA. It's also sitting right on 470.38 where it broke out from. Very similar to SPY. Looking like exactly like SPY there, right on 21 EMA and right where he broke out from. Yeah, I'm just saying, guys, we probably have the limited downside right from where we are here. Okay, like where we are. Okay, I'm talking 2% of downside. That's your worst case scenario. If this is going to get bought up, I'm telling you, if the cloud flips over there, I'm going to be watched for. If it happens, then hey, all right, it's just a change of character that you should definitely take note of. It hasn't happened the whole entire uptrend here since the April low. Okay, I'm going to say it again. That condition has not came, to fruition. It hasn't happened. Okay, it has not happened. If it happens, it is different. For 7 months. 7 months, you have not had that condition. Well, if you have it, it is different. I can't make it more simple than that. That's QQQ. It hasn't happened. That's SPY. All right. And it's as simple as it has to be. Okay. Or that's as complicated as it has to be. Keep it simple. Okay. There you go. There's SPY and QQ, guys. The MAGS ETF, we talked about it yesterday, guys. The fact that you were making your way back up here. Okay. You were so close twice in a row over there. Okay. What does that tell us, guys? Worst case scenario, you're just going to undercut this low over here, build something out, and then push back up. That's really what we're going to be looking for. The fact that we had this, that's the second time you established this level over here. Second time you're revisiting. All right. It's probably not going to hold at the top. It's actually exactly what you had here. You had 1, 2, third time you revisited, you did that. And what happened? You slightly undercut that low. It's like you slightly undercutting this low. That's coming down to the 21 EMA. That aligns with QQQ coming down, break and retest, and then you push them back up. There you go. That's the MAGS ETF. I'm not going to say the MAG 7 stocks look all that pretty. Microsoft is at the bottom of its range. Until proven otherwise, expect it to hold. Okay, that's Microsoft. Coming over here to Meta. It's continued to sell. It's a falling knife, guys. I personally wouldn't be touching it. I'll let you know when it has a base and it's starting to break up from said base. That's it. That's Meta. Google, pulling back to the 9 EMA. Almost tagged it today. All right. But, at the end of the day, it is still just floating. It has not tested the 9 or the 21 EMA in quite some time. Do not be surprised if the market keeps falling back. This is just going to keep building out some controlled consolidation here. Impulsive move up, controlled pullback. That's all I want to say there. And, it's the same on the indices. Even though, people are going to be panicking, you're not down all too much over here. You're down 2% from the highs on SPY. It's not a lot. All right. Where were we? Google, Apple. Okay. Now, I pointed out yesterday, guys, Apple is right off of the daily 9 EMA. Not looking all that bad. But, at the end of the day, if the market is going to be pulling back, all these things are going to be either held down, all right, or they're just going to be consolidated. They're going to trade flat. Apple held up very well today. All right. All day. It was holding up very nicely. Trading on its own. So, I won't be surprised to see Apple push back these highs, but I just won't be touching the thing. I don't think there's a reason to. Amazon, I'm still looking for that mean reversion. I'm looking for them move back into 242.52. Current price is 249.32. Still looking for it. That's it. That's it. Don't gotta overcomplicate it. NVIDIA, guys, next stop is going to be 195.62. You start breaking down underneath 201.41. That was your little floor you had for a few days there. Okay, the bottom of your range. Start breaking on there. 4-hour cloud has now flipped red, and next stop is going to be 195.62. You're sitting right on the daily 9 EMA. If you come a little bit underneath 195.62, in between there and 191.05 support, you're going to have the daily 21 EMA. There you go. That is NVIDIA. Tesla, guys. Oh, my sweet baby Jesus. Gap down. Big gap down. Bang. Big minus 5% day. The most read out of any of the Magnificent 7 stocks. Who would have thought? Troll. Troll again. Troll. I wouldn't be trading this ticker. You know, I wasn't trading it before. I was kind of thinking I was going to be missing out, and I was a little butthurt about it. But at the end of the day, no. Today I get reminded that, you know, no, this thing, when the market is cooperating, it doesn't want to move well. And then when the market isn't cooperating, it wants to not cooperate with the market too. It's a complete troll. Okay. I personally wouldn't be touching it. I don't think there's a reason to. I still think premiums are pretty jacked, and it's not making it easy. It's just not. You're going to have a better. Yeah, honestly, you know, it doesn't really matter what ticker you're looking at. It doesn't matter what sector you're looking at. I'm going to point out a few that were holding up today, but I'm serious. Oh shit, guys. Like, you just fell off a cliff on everything today, and you have a sea of red. Okay. My watch list. Okay. Sector watch list, the all ticker watch list, my active watch list that, you know, I have open right now. Everything is just a sea of red. You have select names that aren't, but, you know, I'm serious. Everything is just blood red. That's just how it went today. Some days that's how it be. Okay. And that's what's going on. But, you know, little does everybody know, guess what? Since everything's selling with the market here, don't be surprised if everything's going to get bought up. We're talking into end of week this week or early on next week. We were looking for the dip that's going on right now before it happened. It doesn't mean, you know, it can't turn into a larger pullback here and we come back maybe down to the weekly 21 EMA. And then we'd probably break that and it would be worse. You know, maybe undercut it, something like that. It doesn't mean that can't be the case, but, you know, until proven otherwise, I'm going to expect, you know, the original game plan we were already talking about to just come to fruition here. You know, I ain't got another reason to expect anything different. I really do not. And, you know, I don't think you do either. But, you know, do your own DD, guys. No financial advice will be given here on this channel. I'm just happy to share, you know, my charts. All right. And my analysis. Okay. All right. But those are the Mag 7 stocks, guys. I'm going to just go over a few stocks here that were standing out today. Cipher. Okay. CIFR had an offering today of, I think it was like $1.4 billion around there. They had an offering and they got bought right back up, almost back up to highs. Definitely standing out. No matter what, Cipher and IREN, that'll be IREN, are looking like they want to have their next legs up. IREN looks exactly like Cipher before Cipher ended up breaking out. All right, Cipher had earnings and it broke out. It had I think 35% move at the high there. It is half the market cap of IREN, but IREN is now consolidating underneath, you know, it's a little range, the top of the range. You know, it is consolidating right underneath where it needs to break out from. Cipher already had that happen, then had earnings, and the earnings gave it a pop. All right, so I'm just saying, I think IREN is probably going to pop off earnings. Not telling anybody along the thing, but I do definitely want to say Cipher specifically is standing out today. Okay. I like the stock. I think a break of 25.11 is right around the corner. I think it brings us to 30 plus. Cipher. Okay. On that, guys, we got cost. Okay. That is really the only sector that I'm going to say was holding up, you know, but it's still a little shaky. Consumer staples. Okay. Things like cost. Walmart was holding up a bit. You know, Target didn't hold up at all over here. But, you know, it's a little bit shaky among them. But, yeah, you definitely had some winners in there. Cost. Guys, you got a giant falling wedge here. It looks like you want to break out here. I told you yesterday, I didn't give it as like an idea. I just kind of wanted to put it back on people's radar, because if it was going to start turning around, this was going to be the absolute bottom. You know, and I'm still going to say, yeah, if you start breaking out here, I'm going to show you what to look for. If you start breaking out here and you break above 964, that's 24 points above current prices. You break above 964, that's a change of character. You've been making these, you know, lower highs here in the weekly time frame, lower highs and lower lows for months. Okay, if you stop doing that and you finally break one of those weekly lower highs, you will have a higher low into a higher high. The weekly cloud flipping back to green is probably right around the corner. And as we can see what happened last time that happened, the cloud flipped green over here, you pushed above it and then you pulled back into it the next week. All right, we're going to be looking for that. So you don't need to catch it early on. I just put it on everyone's radar yesterday in case you do want to be the first one to the show here. Okay, but you know, in reality, you're going to be able to wait, watch this thing fly a little bit. Maybe cost goes to $1,000. And then from there, probably will get, you know, a pullback into 970, 980 that you are able to buy. All right. And that is just something that it's not even close to happening yet, but give it a few weeks and maybe. All right. We're talking 1 to 2 weeks out. Maybe that will be the case. But it is looking very pretty, and it's definitely standing out in a sea of red today. Getting ready, pressed right up against that upper trend line. That's cost. Next one is going to be Goldman Sachs GS. Okay, this looks like it's got a date with all-time highs. Again, that would be 825.25. Current price is 790. I can't tell you how quick that's going to happen. It might just stay in consolidation for the next week or so if the market's going to keep pulling back here, and then like I'm thinking pushing into end of week or early next week. Well, maybe this thing continues consolidating with the market until that becomes the case. But yeah, definitely standing out today, guys. Again, sea of red. If you have things that are, you know, if they're green on the session here, if they had nice moves, if they held structure, that is standing out. Considering our indexes did this. They, you know, gap down heavily, recovered a lot of the gap down, and then continue back down to lows to close. That's straight weakness. It's not really anything but that. It was, you know, sellers twice in one session saying, hey, we're here, and buyers only stepped in once. Sellers, they got the close they wanted to. Like, sellers took the wheel. All right, again, you're in an uptrend. Daily cloud, all you got to do is wait for it to flip green, flip red there. I'll let you know if it happens. It's gonna, I guarantee it's gonna be around, you know, in our golden pocket, 660 to 667. If it happens, I'll let you know though. I will let you know. All right, but other than GS, guys, I'm talking SOFI, SOFI. It's been holding up really nice. I do know this guy likes to move with the market though. But you know, I do think the downside is limited anyways. I know everybody doesn't think that, but I thought that ahead of time, and I think that now. And SOFI over here is like we just have some charts just really they're just holding up really well, holding their shape extremely well here, like SOFI is. You consolidated here for about a month, you know, 5 weeks, broke out, and now you have consolidation for, you know, a week and a half here above the 21 EMA with 2 tests. All right, it doesn't look bad. So SOFI, say, also stands out. I got 2 more for you, and it's going to be BE, Bloom Energy. Okay, so that is BE. It's consolidating here for the 5th session in a row above the 9 EMA and above where it just broke out from. For all I know, it's doing what it did over here, where it's just waiting for moving averages to catch up the price. All right, and then you're going to get ready for that next leg up, or it's getting ready right now, and then you're going to have that next leg up. But yeah, I like what's going on here, and if you can make your way back up to these highs, okay, make a new high here above 147.82. I think you're going straight to 160 to 170. And yeah, bullish flow keeps coming in over here on this name. That is BE. Okay, and I lied. I actually do have, now I have 2 more for you. And the second to the last is going to be Lemonade, LMND. Okay. Lemonade has been consolidating for 3 weeks now. Lemonade has earnings tomorrow before the open. So I'm going to be paying attention to those and seeing what happens over here. The chart, the monthly, the weekly, the daily, they're all saying that this move up it's ready to happen. As long as earnings is making shit to bed here, I think this thing's about to do some cool things. Now, that being said, I also know IWM is hanging off a cliff here, and your cloud over here has flipped red. Okay. And the last time that happened, you did end up, having this big deep sea red day. Okay. After that was the case. So I'm also just going to say that, but I really like the chart, and it's one I've been watching here for, we're talking months at this point. It's been like 2 months that I've been waiting to see if this move was going to be the case. You already had one false breakout. I doubt you're going to have, a second one over here. We'll see about it though. We will see about it. That is going to be lemonade. Last one, APP earnings tomorrow after the bell. AppLovin Corporation, APP. Okay, consolidating right now, and a little range is building out as the market's pulling back there. Yes, you got a bearish engulfing candlestick on the week. We have over 3 years of data suggesting that every single earnings report has triggered the next day an at least 12% move. Let's look for that move to be the case. That would happen overnight, Wednesday into Thursday, or you don't gap up massively, and then you do the move intraday, which is the most ideal scenario if you want to trade options. Okay, if you just want to trade shares, it doesn't matter which scenario. You're going to get the same gain regardless if it works out. But as an options trader, you want that thing not to gap up massively. That being said, one of those two scenarios is likely going to be the case Wednesday into Thursday. On Thursday, look for a 12% move up. That's APP. All right, there you go. And again, if you do want to come trade with me, the lifetime right now until tomorrow's earnings are going to be half off using code APP. That link is down below. All right, and that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it was a nice and short video, 20-minute video. I know it's not all that short, but they're normally 30 to 40 minutes. So there we go. All right, I'm just guaranteed going to tell you, we have a sea of red going on today. It doesn't really matter. You can look at whatever ticker you want to look at here. It doesn't really matter what sector is in. Everything shit in the bed. Some had, that big gap down over here in Uber. It snapped back. Okay. It's still down. But over here, you also got earnings tomorrow after the bell. We're going to be paying attention to that one. I think it makes sense for this guy to be going up, but that's strictly going off the chart here. And for all I know, they're going to send you through a larger correction. I don't know. Okay. You have these bearish divergences on the weekly that have been building out for a while now. Maybe we see those play out. Who knows? Okay. It's going to be earnings. I'm just pointing out, guys, market is not doing a whole lot of anything. Do not be afraid to take a step back. You don't need to trade every day. You don't need to put on trades. You really don't, okay? Like, if there is an environment, like we know we're probably going to be getting this pullback here. At some point, we're going to be getting it. It was either we're going straight to 700 and getting it around there, or we would have it before that happens in SPY. But if you know these things and you know that the environment is unsupportive of your setups, then you don't have to go crazy. I've been personally doing my best just to keep sizing down. The only thing recently I've really tried sizing up on, I had a few share plays, but they're not as volatile as options there. It was really just Palantir. I had about 15K in PLTR. It gave me like 80-90%. It did keep going on me. It would have been cool. But, I took it off. But other than that, I've been trying to just do my best to keep sizing down, and anything I'm taking, keep it 1 to 2K. And I don't think people are going to, I think you're going to have not a terrible time when the market's correcting here if you just take that approach. Just like purposely size down on your trades. If you have that itch to put on trades, at least protect yourself in that manner. Okay. Because I'm just saying, this correction 100%, you could have seen it beforehand like we were. And even like I'm not playing puts. I tried IWM puts. I sold them for, it was like we're talking 5% profit there. Even though I think, we might end up seeing this thing just get a little rug pull day going. It might happen. Okay. Maybe we get a deep red day going on SPY QQ IWM here. But, at the end of the day, I'm not even trying to trade the downside. I just think you should just be able to acknowledge these things in the market. Hey, all right, things are getting a little bit frothy. Okay, this mean reversion here, this happens every few weeks. Don't put yourself in a terrible spot. If you are uncertain with how the market's going to be moving, like we've had uncertainty for weeks now, okay? Like most stocks, let me just go to a weekly chart. You want to see this? Most stocks, okay, have been trading like this. This is Hood. That's a whole month. It's been doing nothing. It's Uber, 2 months more. It's been doing nothing. Path over here, that's a month. It's done nothing. MDB, okay, did nothing for a month and a half. Now it starts pushing up. But, you know, it's not even holding the breakout there. It's not holding its move. QS, done nothing for a whole month. I'm just going through, you know, some of these tickers that they have been good movers here. And you could take a step back and just realize on the higher time frame, no, you've been in consolidation. That's why you've had frustration in the market here. That's the only reason. It's because things have been consolidating for a while here, and you can't do nothing about it. But if you know you're in that environment, I'm just trying to make it clear here that you can do something about it and just kind of protect yourself. And again, if you got that itch, just at least do your best to size down if you know the environment you're trading in is like that. Now, that being said, I think we're going to have a banger freaking trade on APP this week. All right. And I'm happy to use sides on that one. I've been getting ready for it for, you know, 2 to 3 weeks. I've been thinking about that guy. We're going to see if it works out there. But, you know, I'm just telling you for a fact, that is the one thing, you know, off of earnings. I don't ever recommend anybody play earnings. I'm just going to definitely pound the table on that stat there. You have over 3 years that every single earnings report, you had this either gap up or the move didn't happen overnight and it happened intraday, but you have over 12% with, you know, most of them being over 15, you know, 15 to 20% moves. Okay. That's good odds right there. And I'm just saying, you've been consolidating here. Like I just was talking about, you've been in consolidation on everything for like a month now. Well, this thing is no different. You've been consolidating, okay, above previous all-time highs here, all right, for a month, right before earnings, right before you know that 12% move happened. If it happens from current price, 12% brings you up here to, 680. Okay, that's 75 points. At that point, they bring you up here, guys. They're bringing you to all-time highs probably by that next week. All right, or that, that day or the next day there, okay, and that's a 20% move. That's a 140-point move. So I'm just going to highlight this trade over here. This is the one that I think is gearing up for a big boy move. And yeah, all right, less is going to be more right now. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. I will catch you all tomorrow. I hope you guys crush it tomorrow, and peace.